2002 and early 2003, people all over the United States and around the world, in the millions, petitioned their governments, begged their governments not to support President Bush's invasion of Iraq. The terrible loss of life, the destabilization of the Middle East, and the outrageous costs all were anticipated. Sadly, our own government turned away from us and rallied to President Bush's war cries. In the years since, many billions of dollars have been spent in the so-called war on terror, while the civil liberties we hold so dear in a democracy have been chipped away, tossed away, voted away from us by our elected members of Congress in their sheepish response to the hysteria of the administration. Last November, the American people voted for change, for a big change, for a very big change, and for an end to the war. Soon, the House of Representatives plans to vote on the President's request for emergency supplemental funding for the military. He has asked for another $93 billion. But Congress doesn't want to stop there. They want to give the Pentagon $100 billion. Is this the change we have asked for? Congress still does have the power to end the occupation and bring the troops home safely. They could vote for a binding resolution against the President's escalation of the war. They could vote to rescind the authorization handed over to him in 2002 that gave up their own constitutional powers to wage war. And they can vote against funding. More than enough funds have already been appropriated to safely bring the troops home. We believe the best way to end the war and bring the troops home is to vote against any additional funding. We are here to call on Senator Collins, Senator Snowe, and Representative Michaud to pledge to vote against any additional funding for the occupation of Iraq. We must stop funding war. Thank you. Our first speaker this afternoon is Robert Shetterly. Rob is an artist and author, creator of the series Americans Who Tell the Truth. He lives in Brooksville, and he will speak first. Thank you.
Thanks, Judy. Thank you all for being here. We are here to witness with our words and with our bodies today. I'll be brief. It's very cold. I'm sure you are all aware of the betrayal of care at Walter Reed Army Medical Center, where U.S. soldiers returning from Iraq with serious wounds have received shoddy treatment. Men and women with legs and arms blown off, blinded, massive head injuries, severely burned, organs and genitals destroyed, warehoused in disrespectful conditions. You may also be aware that our Senator, Susan Collins, had this to say about the Walter Reed situation, which she called inexcusable mismanagement. She said, quote, "We must ensure that the brave men and women who return from Iraq and Afghanistan are provided with the medical and psychological support they need and are treated with the respect and dignity they deserve, which certainly includes receiving excellent care and living conditions as they recover." Let's imagine for a moment that a doctor of immense and immoral influence decided to infect thousands of people with a terrible, corrosive, extremely painful, and terminal disease, and that people in a position to do something about it were silent until they found out that this doctor had also failed to prescribe painkillers. And then those people who might have stopped him reacted with outrage. What? No painkillers? This needs to be investigated. Such were Susan Collins' remarks. Criticism of the symptom, not the disease. In fact, she is all set to vote for funding to send more of our children back to Iraq to suffer the same fate, when it is blindingly clear that these soldiers have been betrayed twice, once having been sent to this illegal, immoral war, and again when they return. No disease, no crime can be cured until we name it. And for this disease, this crime, which is a preemptive attack on Iraq, the only medicine that will work is to cut off the blood money that funds it. What Senator Collins wants to do is to replace the poor souls charged with managing the symptoms. She is afraid to confront the masters of the disease. If these soldiers were treated with the, quote, respect and dignity that they deserve, unquote, they would never have been sent to Iraq in the first place. We demand that the disease be treated. No more funding. How often do we hear the old cliche about learning your history or you will be doomed to repeat it? Well, the fact is that the custodians of power and imperialism know damn well that history is generally very good to them, and they'll be doomed if they don't repeat it. With all the fear and violence, intimidation and jingoism, entitlement and collateral damage and lies that they can muster. However, there is a competing history, equally true, which teaches us that the only defense against domination and exploitation is citizens willing to sacrifice for their ideals. The only reason that we have civil rights, women's rights, workers' rights, child labor laws, environmental rights, gay rights, is because people have fought for them, bled for them, died for them, committed civil disobedience for them. Think of Rosa Parks and Medgar Evers, Susan B. Anthony and Sojourner Truth, Joe Hill and Mother Jones, Rachel Carson and Diane Wilson, Daniel Ellsberg, Cindy Sheehan, and Kathy Kelly. Utah Phillips says, the degree to which you resist injustice is the degree to which you are free. We are determined to be free. And as Howard Zinn says, the problem is not civil disobedience, it is civil obedience. And we say the degree to which we are obedient in our complicity is the degree to which we have murdered our own souls. Indeed, there is inexcusable mismanagement running this country, and we mean to see that it's replaced. We will pay to clean up Iraq, pay to dismantle the bases, pay to remove the depleted uranium and the cluster bombs, pay to reconstruct what we have destroyed, but not one more penny for war. And we're not leaving until Susan Collins, who believes in respect and dignity for our soldiers, agrees with us. Remember what Frederick Douglass said, power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will. Find out what any people will quietly submit to, and you have found out the exact measure of injustice and wrong that will be imposed on them. Thank you very much.